Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Feels special today. So I invite you for the next couple of hours to really step into that place. You have 2 hours of imagining what it feels like to be a perfected person. Imagine what it feels like to be devoid of all suffering. Because at some point, coming to these things is to seek something that will get you a change of state. Why don't you figure out how to do that for the next 2 hours? Play, jump in. What kind of listener would you be if you listened perfectly? What kind of thinker would you be if you thought perfectly? What kind of sharing would you do if you imagined that whatever you got the next couple of hours you could give away to people that you know need it? And what if this is your first step into your arrival into something beautiful? So I invite you for the next 2 hours to, it's just your private time. No one else is in your head. It's just you. So I hope your head is filled with beautiful things. Your head. Yeah. So to do that, let's, for those of you who are new, this whole blah blah thing is supposed to have an intense intention in your heart to offer a perfected universe. You imagine that feeling that I just invited you to step into. You imagine that upon every thing that's moving and not on the planet and in the universe, and then you offer it to the most enlightened form you can imagine. If you think you can get perfected, there's beings out there already in that state. And if you can't imagine that state, well, halfway between there and here, there's some halfway there. Imagine giving it to them, to that voice in you that says, this is a wisdom, this is a realization, this is a step. And invite them, entice them, offer them a perfect universe in exchange for you getting some insight that you can use in the next 2 hours. So that's what the blah blah means. So whatever the sounds are, that's what you should be feeling.
Sashi
Pukir Jishin Metotran Viraling Shin Yundegam Padi Sange Shindu Mite Wargi Jokun Namda Shinla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami
Sange
Chidam Zoki Joknamla Janchu Bardu Dakni Gyavsuchi Daki Junyengi Petsonamki Drola Benshir Sange Driparsho
Sange
Chidam Zoki Joknamla Janchu Bardu Dakni Gyavsuchi Daki Junyengi Petsonamki Drola Benshir Sange Driparsho Chidam Zoki Joknamla Janchu Bardu Dakni Gyavsuchi Daki Junyengi Petsonamki Drola Benshir Sange Driparsho. So take a comfortable seated position. We're going to start by shifting our minds into a state where we can learn something. Anything that was on your mind before you walked in here is going to be waiting for you in your mind when you walk out of here. So just imagine pushing it outside onto 4th Avenue. Maybe they're big balloons of worries and hopes. Collect the balloons on the way out. Imagine not to have the balloons for 2 hours. So take a comfortable seat position. In essence, your back should be straight. And just begin to relax your breathing. Maybe you take a deep inhalation and you just breathe. What if you just had to breathe? What if it was that easy? Just breathe. Just quickly scan your body. Begin by your feet and your thighs. Just relax any muscles there that are tense. Make any small adjustments before you forget totally about that part of your body. And then before you move up your hips to your torso, just tuck in your tummy a little bit. That supports your lower back. Not a lot, just a tiny bit, so it doesn't require attention. So it lets you float freely. And imagine all the way in front of your spine, there's a string pulling you up that exits the top of your crown. Your shoulders are slightly back. Relax any tension on your shoulders and your neck. And if you have a little frown on, turn it upside down on. So allow the corners of your lips to smile just a little, enough to open up your nostrils. Your frown is relaxed. And see if you can follow the flow, the pattern of your breathing as it enters and exits your nostril. All you have to do is press your mind against it tightly. Flow with the exhale and flow with the inhale. And just be the breath. See if you can be the sensation of the breath onto your body, whether it's the inside of your nostril, whether it's the relaxation of your chest through the exhale. Where do you feel the breath entering and exiting? And just be that sensation. Press your mind against that sensation. As your mind is pressing on the breath, see if you can feel a sensation of energy withdrawing from all your senses, from the muscles and the veins in your body. It's like a drawing of energy around the area of your chest. And then back to the breath. Just see if you can now flow with the pattern. Don't try and control it. Press your mind against the pattern of the breath. And at some point, let it occur to you that there is a being, or that there are beings out there who have reached a state of perfection, have perfected those things you seek. They are your teachers. Invite those beings, or a being that you call your teacher, that inspires you, that drives you towards perfection, that has some wisdom in them. Ask them please to come. And allow that feeling in your chest to almost project them in front of you, seated in the same position you are, facing you, knee to knee, almost touching. It's just you and them. See if you can remove everything else. It's just you and them. And your breaths are in sync. They are no different to the pattern of your breath. So you feel some kind of love or reverence for them, and it's instantly you want to give them some offerings for having come, for being a presence in front of you. So imagine the most beautiful thing you can imagine to give them. It could be as simple as a droplet of water on a petal of flower. You could be transforming the space where you are both seated to an entire universe that's perfected, and anywhere in between. See if you can feel them enjoying your offering. And as you watch them enjoying your offering, think of their highest quality. Maybe it's the way they perceive the world. Maybe it's a special kind of wisdom. Maybe it's their compassion. Whatever you perceive in them genuinely as the highest quality, feel some reverence towards that. It should give you the impulse to bow down or to get to the ground, because that thing they possess is so grand. And the fact that you can perceive it means it's available to you, and so with that reverence you're almost disarmed. And then realize that there are some things that are blocking you from achieving that state, things that are fixable, that they are patterns. So try and find something that you did in the last day or week that's an obstacle to you achieving that state. It's the opposite of that thing you seek. Maybe it's getting angry often, getting jealous. Maybe it's being oblivious to other people's needs, being too selfish. So find a specific instance where you did a thing that prevents you from being that thing you see in them. And just observe it as a thing you did in the past. Watch yourself like a third person, realizing that if you kept doing that, more of that, you won't be able to achieve that thing you seek, because it'll produce more of that negative state of mind. So have a wish arise inside of you that regrets that you have that pattern or you took that action. And make some kind of commitment to stop yourself from doing that again the next time the opportunity arises. And just watching yourself make that commitment to yourself somehow liberates you. You're on a path to a freedom from that thing. Then just see if you can catch your mind over the last week or so, and with an open heart, see where you've done something beautiful in the world. You loved someone unconditionally. You satisfied somebody's need. You gave of yourself to another person. You made efforts to understand something that will help you and the world. Think back at some goodness you did in the last week or so. Find it. How rare is it to do that thing in the world? Look at yourself doing that thing and feel some joy in your heart. Let it grow in your chest. And be happy that you've done some goodness, because that will grow. It gets you closer to your goal. Allow the joy to run through your veins. See if you can feel it at the ends of your fingertips. Streaming from your heart. What's it like to be in a state of joy and happiness? Enjoying doing beautiful things that help your world become better. And then imagine all the people around you now feeling those states, remembering a goodness that they did. This room is overflowing at this very moment with deep emotions of goodness, intense thoughts of having done beautiful things in the world. What if you could help the world become that? What if it was more of that and less of the other? So share a bit of love with those people around you. Imagine your chests connected, your hearts connected. You're flowing on the same thing at this very moment. You're filling up with love. And the more you grow that, the more you grow that. And feel happy for them. And ask your teacher to please teach you at every turn. May every experience you have be a deep, deep realization that gets you to more heightened states of being. Ask them, please. And you see them agreeing, getting closer to you. and ask them please to stay, always stay. And as you ask them, they quickly turn and face the same direction you're facing, becoming smaller and rising up, until they're sitting just above the crown of your head, bright with light, intense with every high quality you can imagine, bursting out of them like tiny diamonds, rays of light, pouring into the crown of your head. Every single one of them a realization. See if you can feel their presence there. See if you can feel a heat there. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. So wherever you touched, stay on that. Whatever you touched, just then stay on that. So we're on a meditation course, and we haven't talked about meditating just yet. But you just did a really beautiful meditation. I hope that it felt for you the way it felt over here, but the stillness in the room was beautiful. Thank you so much. You can make every day like that, every meditation like that. And the pattern of doing this once a week, 2 hours a week, can be your entire life. And it's lovely. So in the meditation course that we haven't really started, because we had too many beautiful things. By the way, last week was just very precious. Which is a combination of precious and special. So thanks for making it precious. So quick review, yeah? Quick review, meaning an hour.
We'll give you an hour.
No, but the thing is here, you want to get these things. You really want to get them. You know? A beautiful thing about a Tibetan system where they memorize texts. Why would you memorize texts? I mean, at the time of the Buddha, people were just memorizing things, and you could recite the last hour conversation word for word. And, you know, humanity sort of lost that ability because we think we're getting all our devices to help us remember things, which actually make us forget things. Yeah, because all the things that are supposed to aid in communication are actually impediments to communication then. You know, too many emails, too many texts, I've got to like this and I like that, etc. So the Tibetan system, the stuff we're learning for 5 years in a very condensed version takes them 20 years to learn in the monastery, because they'll memorize a text. You know, in preparing for class today, I'm thinking, why memorize this stuff? Can't you just type it up on the computer, you know, and get Alex, the speaking Mac, to read it back to you? The Pratnya Paramita is a Why not that? Well, you see, as life happens to us, me holding on to these things, which are my precious notes that I've got to read to make sure I don't forget things, all the texts on the computer or the books we hold, they're not in you. Memorizing these things are in you. So imagine memorizing the deepest wisdoms. People can chop off your arms and they're in you. People can take your eyes and they're in you. And that's what's happening to us over time. None of us are going to be able at some point to move that arm. You know, when death comes, it comes. and the impulses that you've habituated in this life will take you. They come to you as close as a shadow. They follow close behind. You are nothing but the imprints of your mind. Why not memorize some cool shit? Oh dear. So, that's why the review is important. That's why we should memorize some core things. You're going to be covered with 1,000 things. And out of this, now we're on ACI 3. Now the practice begins. At the end of this course, you'll get enough content to find a practice. Then the practice. You actually got to practice to internalize these things so your minds have the essence that create your reality. So in this course we covered the preparation for meditation. Remember there were 6? Yeah, feel free to interact. Preliminaries, which in essence, what were they to do?
Set up the space and get ready to meditate.
Set up the space, get ready to meditate, get your mind in gear, clean up the stuff, make offerings, remember that? Yeah. And inside them, number 5, there was the 7 ingredients, right? So somehow we got to make a practice out of the 6 preliminaries and the 7 ingredients. And we began, what we did at the meditation just now, and every time we do a meditation is the preliminaries, yeah. Mostly the 7 ingredients, but it's the preliminaries because we set up the room and we've found a seat and all this other stuff. So you've been doing it. We've been tricking you to do it. So, once you remember the steps, you just do it. So then we talked about that, and then we talked about the conditions for meditating. Remember, especially around going for a retreat, for example. What's a good environment for meditating? What kind of outward things and inward things do you need? Yeah?
Quiet, no lions or tigers.
Quiet, no lions or tigers.
Nobody building a house right outside your
No one's building a house. No poor family's building a house outside your monastery retreat in Nepal. Yeah. Cool. Over and over, we did this beautiful thing together. We knew that I knew she was in that room next door, and she knew I was here. And the only interaction we had daily is when the monks or the people in the monastery would leave the food outside, and they'd bang on the door, knock knock, and we'd pull out our plates from the night before and put them in or something. And we went to this beautiful monastery up in the hills in Kathmandu, outside Kathmandu, but outside. On the back end, on our windows, there was construction. Every day. It became part of meditation. So we covered that, and then there was the 8-point posture. So how do you sit? Why sit that way? What does it do? We covered that. It's all in your text. If you missed it, you missed it. And then we did. The last couple of weeks with Geshe Tashi Dorje and our little interlude, we sort of skimmed through the mental processes that occur, when you're meditating, which were the 5 problems, the 8 antidotes to that 5 problems, and last week quickly I gave you the 9 stages. There's also the 4 powers.
States of mind.
4 states of mind are the 6 powers. Yeah?
Yeah.
I had a thing that should I cover them again today, and I'm not going to. They're in your readings. It's better to I'll cover them again at the review, but it's better for us to get onto which is this class, object of meditation. So now we've set up the room. We know how to sit. We know why we have to do some external and inner offerings. We know the 7 preliminaries. We know all these things. We know where to meditate. Create a little corner in your room somewhere. And you know that you're going to encounter these enemies, that you've got some 8 swords to fight them with. and you're going to fight them in 9 different scenarios. And then you get powers. But that doesn't mean anything unless you're meditating. It's just a good idea. So you've got to meditate. So to do that, we've got to figure out what to meditate on, and that's what I want to cover today. Before I do that, though, I want to make some clarity. So let's review the 5 problems in name only, and then 8 antidotes, just so we have something to talk about. What are the 5 problems? Laziness is number 1. Yeah. 4 antidotes to that, which are?
Think about the benefits.
Why?
Why to meditate?
Yeah, excellent, cool. Benefits. There's all these amazing things that can occur if you do it. So once you think about the benefits, your mind will automatically want to do the next part, which is? You want it. You want to do it. Yeah. You're like, oh, that's a good idea. I want to do that. And then what happens? You do it. You sit and then you go, okay, I'm going to try. And then you become good at it. Yeah. So there are 4 antidotes. Do it. It's not hard. Anyway, in talking about that and the 9 stages, we talked about mental dullness and agitation, right? Which are the 2 big enemies when you're trying to focus. So if we're doing the meditation before, we talked about dullness and agitation. So you're trying to stay on an object, and sometimes you're on and sometimes you're off, and you're on and you're off. And then gradually you're on and you're off, and you're on and you're off. Yeah? And you're on and you're off. Oh. That's hopefully how it goes, right? And then when you're on, whilst you're on, you're going to have 2 big things happen. They're the things you have to watch for. So the watchfulness side of your mind, the alarm, needs to watch out for agitation and dullness. Yeah? And in describing agitation and dullness, I know that I talked about fixation on the object, clarity on the object, and intensity on the object.
Is that part of the watchfulness?
It's part of, it's a good question. It's a part of watchfulness. Intensity is the level of which your clarity is. It's how clear your mind is. Okay?
That's how intense you are?
How intense you are.
It's vibrant.
But your mind is vibrant. It's not the object. So it's not like you could see the end of the fingertips of the Buddha. That was a big mistake I did for a long time. I thought I had to get fixation on the object. I have it. I have the object. There it is. The Buddha we were imagining, or the teacher, you had it. You had the object. At some point you had the object, right? As soon as they pop up, you have fixation. Right? Then you have clarity. So how clear is the object? Yeah, it's like fuzzy. But it's not the object that is clear. Like, can I see this sharp line here? That's not what it is. I thought that's what it was. It's how bushy-tailed is your mind. It's like, oh, I'm here. I am only here. I'm only here with him, or with it, or with the thing, the object that you're, yeah? And the level that you're on, that's the intensity. I'm really here. How here? A lot here. Yeah? So I don't need to see the bottle. I feel the bottle. Not only do I feel the bottle, I sense the bottle. I have a sensation for the warmness in the parts where my fingers aren't touching it, and the coolness in the very tips where it's touching it, and my mind is intense. It's not the bottle. So I just wanted to get that clear so you don't make the 7-year mistake or something.
Another question. So they go in order: fixation, clarity, and intensity?
Fixation and clarity,
They're like gradual?
they're 2 things. So holding what was the example? Holding the cup. Holding the cup is fixation. You've got it. Yeah? Holding it loosely or just holding it, yeah, you have clarity. You can feel it. Yeah? Fixation is holding it firmly, tightly. I know it's a silly analogy, but if you think of clarity as the clarity of your mind, then fixation makes sense, because fixation is, so intensity is the degree to which you're clear. Intensity is the degree to which your mind is clear. I thought it had to do with, I can really see the outline, because that's a method that you have to do to try and get an image. You have to imagine the outline, and then you try and imagine their eyes and all that. But then I thought, can I see the sparkly eyelids, you know, flowing with radiance in every eyelid? I'm thinking that's clarity and that's intensity. Clarity is my mind really here. Is everything else pissing off, and is my mind clear enough? That's the, yeah.
When you say mind, like, is it where do you feel that? Is it a physiological experience, or is it like a whole body? You know what I mean? Like, because if it's not the eyes,
it's your consciousness.
Right.
It's that thing that's listening to this. Where are you listening to this? Who's interpreting the sound waves? So if you, there is a point where physiology jumps to consciousness. It's your consciousness, it's your mind, the thing that is not physical. Yeah. So no longer do the electrical signals, it's not the electrical signals that are popping in your brain. Yeah, that was another thing when I started this thing going, is my mind, my brain? No. Mind is mind.
Can I ask a question about that consciousness thing?
Can we leave it until the middle of the, yeah? Cool. So I just want to clarify that. Fixation, clarity, intensity on the object, and be aware of dullness or gross dullness and subtle dullness and agitation. But it doesn't mean anything unless you're sitting there playing with something. So I want to get on with the object of meditation so we have something to play with. And when they come, you at least know their names. Yeah. Go, hello. How do you do? So we've done that. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the three kinds of meditation. And say Jogom. Yeah, cool. Jogom. Actually, let's go to the next one. Say Shargom. And Shebom. So, Jogom is putting the mind on the object. Other times called single-pointed concentration. Yeah. Shargom is review meditation, and we're going to do all these three. And Shegom is analytical meditation. So traditionally, whatever notions of meditation you had before meeting this tradition, forget them for a second, okay? And just think that overall there's three types of meditation. Single-pointed, where it's just you and the object. Your consciousness, your awareness is nothing but that thing. So we practice that with the breath a little bit. So when you get it, really get it, that you are feeling the breath, you are the breath, your mind is nothing but the breath. What are you doing? Single-pointedly being that thing. Yeah? And then so just let's leave it like that. Then the type of object that you choose to do this kind of meditation on is extremely important, because if you become what you put through your mind, you put breath through your mind a lot. Breath is like not a positive thing, it's not a negative thing, it's just a thing. Yeah. You could equally obsess, be so concentrated, so single-pointedly concentrated on a non-virtuous object, anger. They really pissed me off. So much. They caused me to feel that. I can't believe it. It's unbelievable. I do not believe it. How can they do that? Can anyone believe it? And so constantly you're focused on a negative emotion, yeah, and onto an object. So what's that producing? Same stuff. And
Brainwashing yourself.
what else are you doing? You're just doing it consciously, yeah? You're just doing it consciously. You're brainwashing yourself anyway. We're just blind to how we're doing it. All of a sudden, this is where you get levels of awakening that are just magnificent. When you observe your mind, shut it all down, you start observing your mind, and you catch yourself a pattern. You say, I'm committed to fixing this thing, I'm sick of it, I'm going to fix it. Yeah? And so you try this and you try that, it doesn't work. And eventually you figure out you're going to try it this way. You're going to meditate and try and figure it out by observing your mind. If you're doing it correctly, with beautiful intent, with objective perspective, you see your mind doing it, that thing. And you thought you knew because you'd heard, but then you didn't know. And then you go, it's like an abyss opens up. And you're like, the problem is a problem. I didn't see it there or there or there. And you get an aha. And that's a nice thing to have, even though it's sometimes crappy, the object. But then you can't go back. You can't go back to behaving that way when you see your mind at play. You are nothing but the things you habituate. So let's leave that for a second. So that's the first type of meditation, single-pointedly. What I was getting at is traditionally you get this, meditate on an image of a holy being, of a Buddha. Now me, a Westerner, I never even knew about Buddhists. I didn't know anything about them. They don't have any special thing for me. It's just a word, a Buddha. You know? What does that mean? So I had to learn what that was. And until I learned what that was, the qualities of a Buddha and why a Buddha was special and what the word Buddha means, which just means to wake up, to Buddha, to Bud, he who Buds. That's Bud, man. When you get that, when you then connect the word Buddha with those, if you're in this room and you're seeking something, you would have had a Buddha moment. Yeah? You would have had a moment where you've gone, oops, it's not that way, it's that way. And depending on the significance of that thing, how life-changing that thing is, and sometimes it looks external and sometimes it's internal. Yeah, sometimes you see your life crumbling and it's a waking up moment. And sometimes you think sometimes it's a beautiful waking up. So if you've had that, then let's call that a Buddha. A being who has done that to such a degree, to an ultimate degree, where no suffering at all occurs. They get it all, the entire code, and they can play with the code spontaneously, free of all mental afflictions, meaning anything that disturbs the pond of their mind to the very depths of their ocean, and every single thing is bliss. And there's nothing that's it's nice. So I couldn't figure that out at the beginning. So traditionally you get given, to meditate on an image of a Buddha. Well, I didn't know what that was, and I don't know to what depth you know that. So get to the closest thing you got, and for me it was Joseph Campbell. Yeah, the wisest man I knew. He was on television when I owned one. Thanks to him, I got rid of one. Yeah? But that worked because it's real for you. You see. The other trick that I want you to avoid, if you can, is don't pretend. I'm a good Buddhist. He's a Buddha. It doesn't mean shit to me, but he's a Buddha. What does that do? You're just sitting. Yeah? It's good to have effort towards a good thing, but that won't last unless you have a charge to it. You have to have a charge to it. And this is what I meant in the last class when other religious practices turned on for me when I saw that. I could see how somebody could have a charge about the Virgin Mary. Oh, I see her in the rock, Then it could be special for them. Then if it is, and you're not bullshitting yourself, turn that on. Why? Because whatever qualities you put through your mind, where are they, those qualities? In your mind. And like seeds, they grow. So find the highest object. So traditionally, in the first form of meditation, single-pointed meditation, they say to put your mind on a Buddha. For me, the Buddha was Joseph Campbell. For others, it could be the Virgin Mary. On a stone. Is that funny? Yeah, that was pretty funny, right? Wow. Not really. It was very naughty. Stop it. That was very naughty. Don't do it again. Thank you. Okay. Shogong, review meditation. Review meditation. Look, if you've been studying or observing the study of Tibetan Buddhist philosophy, you'll find that there are lists. And each list has sub-lists. And sometimes the sub-lists have parts, which are listed. Yeah. So, review meditation is healthy because it lets you review the lists. But this is where you actually habituate getting it inside you. Yeah, so the review meditation is actually quite beautiful. Whenever you get a sadhana, or you get a special teaching, or you get a new practice, you learn to habituate yourself to that until it's totally internalized. So I'm learning a sadhana at the moment, which is a special meditation, and it's long. It's like an hour and a half of very precise, specific stuff. And I can do all of it now without looking at the book, but I can't do it to the detail which is in the visualization. So initially you look at the first few things and you go, okay, that's what it is, so you review it like that. You figure out some logic, yeah? Step 1, step 2, step 3. You go, okay, I get it, step 1, step 2, step 3. So, for example, let's do a review meditation on the 4 Arial truths. What are the 4 Arial truths that Buddha's first teaching? Life is suffering.
There's a cause of suffering.
That something made that happen. Yeah, there's a cause to that. Then there's a way out of that. You don't have to be that way. And
Mercy guardians.
what's the 4th one?
The path.
There's a way out. Yeah, there's a way to come out. There's a path. Take the medicine. Any of those. So let's do it. So what's the first one?
Life is suffering.
Second?
Suffering.
Fourth? Third?
There's a way out.
And fourth?
The path.
It's a path to get out. Yeah? Okay. So then you go and I'm going to do it on my own now. In my mind, I'm going to imagine what it's like. What do they mean, life is suffering? Life is suffering. I get it. Oh, it's caused. I see. Oh, there's a way out. Oh, there's a cause. Okay, good. Now, let's do it in reverse. What's the 4th one?
There's a path.
What's the 3rd one?
There's a way out.
What's the 2nd one?
There's a cause.
What's the 1st one?
Like the suffering.
Great, so then you do that in your mind. In reverse. What's the 2nd one?
There's a
There's a
cause.
change.
What's the 4th one?
Here's the path.
Great, what's the 1st one?
There's a lesson.
What's the 3rd one?
There's a way out.
Cool. So
I want the way out.
I want the way out. So you just did that review meditation. You do that enough, and you habituate yourself to a point where you don't have to think about it. It's instant reply. So you're walking down the road, you get into an accident, and you can't start recalling things. It'll be whatever habit you've got in your mind. So why not have these habits in your mind?
Don't they also do that because they debate, and if you don't know something thoroughly like that, you can't debate anybody.
But why debate?
To get to the truth.
Yeah, but ultimately to internalize it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you internalize it? Inside. But it's true. I mean, that's another reason for memorizing. So you can go and say instantly this is why. But that's to sharpen the understanding of why. But before you can sharpen the understanding of why, you need to know what. What are you whying? Yeah. So, okay, Hector's on a track. Okay. Qigong is analytical meditation. I love this one. This is the first time it got me excited to meditate, because if you've been here a little bit, you know that there's all these ideas that aren't familiar to us. What's past lives? What's karma? Who needs a bloody guru anyway? Yeah? What do you really think? Not what should you think. What do you really think about all these things that you hear? Is there really a full path? Is there anything outside that? Is there only two truths?
What if you're doing that automatically anyways? If you're not sitting down to meditate, but you're in class and you're just thinking about it?
Yeah, that's good. That's a meditation. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. But it's different to do it with your senses shut down. I'll tell you why in a sec, okay? But so what you're doing on the bus is preparing for this meditation. Let's call it that. Yeah, it's practicing for that meditation. And you should be doing that all the time. You shouldn't just say, oh, that sounds good, I'll do that. Why does it sound good? Break it down. Like what's a metaphor in Tibetan? I think it's like, Dharma is like gold. Before you chew it, what is it? You check to see if it's real gold and not crappy gold. Yeah, just make sure that it's the right gold, not some fool's gold. Because fool's gold will make you a fool. Yeah? So this meditation, the analytical meditation, really will give you certainty about some things. And debating gives you strength in this meditation, gives you certainty to go in. Yeah? That's why debating, so I was always really scared of debating, because I was going to be shown up as not knowing anything. Yeah? I don't know anything. Shit, I can't remember the lists. Huh?
Or also like not believing.
Yeah?
Like a rebel.
Like a rebel, you mean?
Like, yeah, too much criticism. No? Oh.
No, that's not what happened to me. But this thing really gets you to say, what do I believe really? Yeah? And then, who's ever done debating at school, for example? Who did debating at school? Yeah. I was really terrible at it. I'm like, English is my second language. So you get to make a decision on, are there enlightened beings? Really? Don't have to believe it. Do you believe that it's possible for a creature, a human, a being, an entity, a thing with a consciousness, to evolve beyond a level of evolution? Is it possible to get from not knowing anything to knowing something? Is it possible from knowing something to knowing more? Is it possible to know more to know even more?
Yes.
Is it possible to know everything?
Yes.
Really? You really think that? So then in this meditation you question, you take a position, go, no, I don't think that's crap. And then you try and prove your point with the knowledge or the teachings that you get here and anywhere else. Or vice versa. You go, yeah, I think I believe that. And then you turn it around and you fight yourself. Because you'll come to your gaps of knowledge. And then what should you do? Patch the gaps. Go, why don't I believe that? Yeah? And there's some components to the path that are hyper important. I mean, karma, the idea of karma is is a very essential component to figuring out how to get rid of all our afflictions. Why shit happens to us, why we're suffering, how come we're sick of it. Understanding karma is very important. So if you don't understand karma, you've got to figure out, do I really believe in karma? Do I know everything about karma? Better study what they mean and then analyze it. But doing this kind of analytical meditation will tell you what your gaps are, and then you can go and address them. And it's refreshing, because you think you're doing really well, and then you're like, uh-oh. But then that's a goodness, because you're knowing where you're at. The other thing about this meditation is that once you come, let's say, the idea of emptiness is another important idea in Buddhist philosophy, experience. So let's imagine that you're doing an analytical meditation on your understanding of emptiness. Is it true, what they say? That things don't have a nature from their own side? And what are the implications of that? And why do I believe that? And to what degree do I believe that? And what's that got to do with being able to transform my world? And so you go through that process. And at some point, you might have a realization. Because you're trying to analyze it and break it down, you're going, oh, I thought emptiness meant nothingness. It actually means that everything is available in it. At some point you might get to that realization if you're trying to understand your understanding of emptiness. So your mind is on the object, emptiness. Yeah? You're so engrossed in it, you have clarity around it. In fact, it's getting really exciting in there. You have some intensity. And then you get an aha. You go, oh, wow, I thought it was this, but it was this. And when you get that aha, you jump up to the first level of meditation, single point, and you stay on that realization. Now you can't stay on there unless you've had the practice to. Do you see? You get an aha, it's totally enlightening. You know what? Yeah.
They're all ideas.
It's nothing but ideas. Yeah. When I'm saying visualize, when I say place your mind on the object of a Buddha, it's not the shape of the Buddha only. What's a Buddha feel like?
It's such a composite thing.
Yeah, one pointed doesn't mean on the point. I wasted time doing that. I said this last class or the class before, I can't remember. Yeah, you start broad and then you narrow. Yeah. So I think the first time I started on a single pointed was my instances of anger. Where do I get angry? Oh, I can get angry here, I can get angry over there, my mind's over there. But I'm on the object being, I'm single pointed on the object of Hector being angry. And then gradually you narrow. So yes, the answer is yes. So they're the three types of meditation, hooray. What we're going to have as an object of meditation, if you would like to take it on, which I highly encourage it, otherwise there's no point in sitting down here and having a class. If you have an object of meditation, keep your object of meditation specifically if it was given to you by your precious teacher. So I know there's some people in the room who have objects of meditation. So what are we going to place our minds on? And I would like to offer you an object of meditation for the next 3 to 6 months of your life, where your mind, when you're meditating and when you're not meditating, should try and be on this object. And we will do those 3 types of meditation on this object. Yeah? And I would like that to be, you have to pretend that you're hearing this from a perfected state of mind. The steps on the path. So this thing called the lam rim. So for those of you who we're on ACI 1, Lamson Namsun, the 3 principal paths. It's something like that. It's not the same Lam Rim, it's a different Lam Rim. So I want to talk a little bit about Lam Rim when we come back. I want to talk about why Lam Rim is such a high object of meditation and broad enough for your crazy monkey mind to be able to jump from left to right and up and down, but still be on the object. So you're beginning to transform your mind by placing it on nothing but the highest virtue. So just very basically, the Lam Rim is a summary of the 5 great texts of wisdom that came out of India and comprised the entire Buddhist path. The entire Buddhist path. From schmuck to enlightened being. From someone that doesn't know why things are happening to them, desperately bouncing off thing after thing after thing after thing, trying to get happiness and away from suffering and more happiness and away from suffering. A lost creature on the planet, and then your life is extinguished and off you go. And then there's another one and another one and another one and another one. That from that kind of being, stuck constantly in that cycle, to a being that can break that cycle, there are steps to go through that makes it a complete path, a Lam Rim. So the 20 years of monastery study cover these 5 great books, which we'll talk about a little bit. The Lam Rim is the only place where you get all those wisdoms into an entire path. So it's a 3-page, it's one of the shortest Lam Rims, so it's a 3-page document, a text, that in it is all the open teachings of Buddhism and the secret teachings of Buddhism. And it just depends on the level of understanding or realization that you have, to what level you can see that on the thing. The implication here is that if you do this Lam Rim properly, if you habituate your mind, you have the entire path, the way out, in your mind. Yeah? So that's why it's such a high object of meditation, because truly, for you, it can be that thing. And then you don't have to study the 5 great texts over 20 years in a monastery, which is a pretty good...
I have a copy of the 3 principal aspects, so if anybody wants to make a copy.
I think we're going to do a different one.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We're going to do... I'll show you when you come. But
Oh, okay.
Good. I wanted people to have... Well, Geshe-la wanted people to have different Lam Rims.
Okay.
So we did the 3 principal aspects of the path.
And yours also.
Yeah. So we did that in ACI 1. We're now using a different Lam Rim, and then we can combine.
Oh, okay.
So we get more than one Lam Rim in our mind stream. So with that, please take a 10-minute break. Come back at 5 to 9, so I can do half an hour of amazing, give you an object to meditate on, explain the first part of it. This is just part 1. Next week is part 2. The week after is part 3, and I leave for South America for a month. So we have a break for a month, for which you have a month to cement the Lam Rim. Yeah? If you really truly want to get all those things we talked about last week, this path says you can, but you have to be invested, you have to put in the hours, and you have to revel in the enjoyment of when it comes, and then stay on it until the next one comes. The step after step after step. There's a way out. We're going to figure it out. Please come back.
Lama, can I make one announcement?
You can do it.
Okay. As I promised, we have the readings from the Nirvana immersions available. We brought them back from Bahamas. They're printed in Bahamas. They're imported into this country. We wanted to make the teachings available and open to everybody. So they're the stack out there. We're asking for donations just so that we can give it back to 3 jewels, because Geshe Michael did pay for all of these out of his own pocket. So we wanted to do something for 3 jewels. And we had one party. We had one Nirvana immersion party at JMU.
Which I heard was amazing, by the way.
It was really great.
Congrats.
And we got to all share our experiences. So we might have another one fairly soon.
If
So
someone doesn't know what Nirvana immersion is, what's Nirvana immersion?
what is Nirvana immersion, Peter?
You want me to say?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, so Hector's teacher, Geshe Michael, was here a couple weeks ago, and he taught a 3-day class called Nirvana Immersion. So, in case anyone doesn't know what she's talking about, that's what she's saying. It's the
It's
text
how
from
to
that
reach
class.
Nirvana, like now. And there's steps, like in a book, and it's sitting out there. So, yeah, so have a look through, and next time when we have a Nirvana party, then you can ask questions, and we'll reach Nirvana together.
Part 2. No, make it at 9. Cool.